Berenice Abbott was born on July 17, 1898, in Springfield, Ohio, and died on December 9, 1991, in Monson, Maine, and was his master image maker for over 60 years. Abbott had the unique ability to create consistently strong photographs from different realms of experience, and her way of seeing is clear, objective, and realistic. Abbott's photography career began in 1923 when she moved to Paris and became Man Ray's apprentice. By 1926, she established her own portrait studio and photographed celebrated writers and artists of the time. The portraits she took during her time in Paris were named Paris Portraits and were all made on medium to glass plates. The portrait we see here is of Lucia Joyce, daughter of James Joyce, and was taken in Paris between 1926 and 1927. Abbott is able to capture exceptional shadowing, adding to the composition of the subject. The photograph also tells a story and portrays the passion Lucia has for the art of dance. Having her subject posed the way she is creates angles and elongates the subject's figure to have the viewer see the subject from left to right. Abbott is able to create contrast by having the subject stand against a neutral color wall that fades into dark flooring, and the lighting highlights the tops of her feet against the dark floor. Abbott photographed hundreds of people during her time in Paris, but by 1931 was forced to give up her studio due to financial pressures of the Great Depression, and began to direct her creative perspective away from portraits and onto the New York landscape. When she returned to New York, she had a new perspective and began photographing the rapidly evolving city. Her documentary project, Changing New York, took 10 years to complete and is widely acclaimed. The book portraying this portrait was finally published in 1939, and her photographs of the changing city evokes objectivity and realism of the time. Changing New York is Abbott's best-known work and is critically acclaimed. The size of her negatives and scope of her project increased until finally by 1932, all photographs were made with her 8x10 Century Universal. Many of her well-known New York images were produced under the funding of the Federal Art Project from 1935 to 1939. The photograph we see here is of the Blossom Restaurant in New York and was taken in 1935. Abbott had been setting up her camera to take a picture of the storefront when a man came up the walkway. Having a creative eye, Abbott saw the opportunity to capture the subject's bewilderment of what was happening. The photograph has multiple points of contrast as lights are against the dark shadows of their surroundings. Additionally, a field of depth is created against the back of the man as the back of the hall fades into darkness. Shadowing also plays a key role into the photograph's strength and is created in several places, including the lightness seen in the left wall of the hallway. The next photograph we see is of the Fifth Avenue houses in New York, taken in 1936. Abbott had always wanted to photograph the subject, but needed a way to the opportune moment to correctly capture the contrasts of the houses. She waited to photograph the house until mid-morning to utilize side lighting and create a dramatic effect through shadows. Additionally, from this angle, Abbott was able to create a two-point perspective and have the viewer's eyes follow the edges of the houses. In 1958, Abbott began a new project of photographing scientific phenomena for the Physical Sciences Study Committee at MIT. This project resulted in her most creative and innovative work, breaking down the complexity of physical science and making it understandable for the viewer. In this period, spanning 22 years, Abbott produced thousands of photographs in formats ranging from 8x10 to 16x20, and designed and patented a good deal of scientific equipment, including 2 cameras. The image we see here is called Light Through a Prism and was taken in Cambridge, Massachusetts from 1958 to 1961. In the photograph, Abbott is able to capture the process of light so that the viewer can easily understand. Capturing light against a black background is harsh, but then gradually fades into the field of depth. Additionally, Abbott used the perfect amount of exposure to capture a crisp, clear image. Abbott's vision on photography and unique style summed up perfectly when she stated, "Photography can never grow up and stand on its own 2 feet if it imitates primarily some other medium. It has to walk alone. It has to be itself."